Join me inside my writing yurt. Come on. Hi, and welcome to Ask Cozy Grammar. I'm Thomas, Marie's cozy language consultant, and I'm so glad you've decided to join me in my cozy writing yurt, or rather, I should say, outside my cozy writing yurt. We're fortunate that even though it's October and the colder weather is coming, it's still nice enough today to be outside and to enjoy some of the late autumn sunshine. So thank you for joining me here today in October. Probably next month we'll be inside by the cozy stove that I have to keep my cozy writing yurt warm. But today we get to enjoy being outside together. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, Ask Cozy Grammar is our way to add some or to offer some additional support to students and to families who are learning at home, especially in these times when so many of us are now learning from home. Maybe some of us because of choice, and maybe others of us because of the circumstances that we're all living in. So we thought that we would give a way to allow people to ask us questions directly about the content in our different courses, the grammar course, the punctuation course, the writing course, and the spelling course, as well as any questions that people have about how to learn or how to teach any of these subjects. Because even though we've put our heart into these videos that are in the courses and the interactive study notes and all of those tools, there is something very special about being able to interact with a teacher live, even if it's through the medium of a video camera. So that's why we're offering these Ask Cozy Grammar sessions. So we have a number of different questions today, and I'll jump right in. And of course, if you think of a question as you're watching, go ahead and you can chat that into the chat box if you're on this call live, or if you're watching this afterwards, feel free to contact us through our website, cozygrammar.com. Simply visit our homepage, click Ask Cozy Grammar, and you can ask your question there. So our first question comes from Audrine, and I hope I'm saying this name correctly, who writes from the United States. Thomas, I don't understand the vowels in the words apology, alcohol, and toboggan. Now, this student is writing in response to a question in the basic cozy, I should say the free cozy spelling course. As part of the free cozy spelling course, there is a weekly set of activities: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, a different activity on each of those days. And on Tuesdays and on Thursdays, there are activities which have students interacting with the words in different ways, sometimes writing them, sometimes learning more about their history, sometimes looking them up in a dictionary, and sometimes saying them out loud. So, for instance, in week 5 of the free cozy spelling course on Thursday, one of the instructions is this: say the words apology, alcohol, and toboggan out loud. Do you notice how some of the vowel sounds are longer than others? Write out the words and underline the vowels that sound long to your ear. Now, one may wonder why one of these activities is to say the words out loud. Isn't spelling about being able to write the words correctly? And isn't that really about what we see, not about what we hear? Um, and that would be a very good question. And here's the answer: saying words out loud is one of the most powerful ways we have to understand and to know words more deeply. That's why the free cozy spelling course each week begins with a dictation activity. Cozy Grammar's producer and director, David Milkey, reads the words for that week. Students listen to the recording of those words and then tries to write them down. Sometimes they may be correct, sometimes they may be incorrect, but in a certain way, that doesn't even matter. The point is to start connecting what we hear with what we see and actually write with our own hands. Because this connection between what we hear and what we see and what we write is really the foundation of good spelling. Now, This isn't something we're always taught to do. And in fact, this is something that is particularly important to do in English because English is a very peculiar language. If you spent any time looking at English spelling, you'll realize that words in English are often spelled quite differently than how they're pronounced. Uh, and sometimes this is quite baffling. And there are many reasons for this situation. Um, uh, to just give you a brief historical summary, there was a time in which English was more or less pronounced the way it is written. This is back around the time of Chaucer. We're looking at maybe this is 12th, 13th, 14th centuries, around there generally. And uh, then something happened which linguists call the Great Vowel Shift. And this is a period in which, for a number of different reasons, the vowels in English changed their quality. So the vowels changed. This didn't happen in other languages, for instance, in Spanish or other languages, this didn't happen. But in English, for whatever reason, it did. And that means that some of these words started to be said differently, but the spellings remained the same. So let me give you an example. Take the word knee. Now, if you were hearing the word knee for the first time, just think to yourself, how would you spell the word knee? Maybe you would write N I, or maybe you would write N E, or maybe you would write N E E. But would you write K N E E? Probably not. And there's this strange silent K at the beginning of the word knee, which students find very confusing. Well, it just so happens that before the great vowel shift, more of those letters were pronounced. So people didn't say knee, they said Kane. The K was pronounced, the N was pronounced, and the two E's were pronounced. Kane. This is also true with the word knight, as in knight in shining armor. People said Knicht. And you can see now, oh, well, that makes sense why we have a K and an N and an I and a G and an H and a T. Knicht. But after Kane and Knicht became knee and night, the spellings stayed the same. And that's why to this day, we write Kane, but say knee, and we write Knicht, and we say night. Well, you may wonder if English has such strange spelling growing out of its strange history, well, why do we even bother listening to the sounds of the words? And this would be a good question. And the reason is this: the more aware we are of these differences, the more aware we are of the difference between how a word is said and how it's written, the more, paradoxically, our spelling will improve because that very awareness of the difference instructs us. It teaches our mind. And so we know, oh, this word looks like this and it sounds like this. And both of those, if you will, pieces of information live comfortably in our mind and in our experience. So, the question specifically that Audrine, and I hope I'm saying your name correctly, asked was about long vowel sounds. So let's take a step back. In English, we don't necessarily consciously think about the length of our vowels. We just say our vowels. We say words the way we hear people around us saying them. Uh, and in English, there is also something important which we can call stress or stressed or accented syllables. So, for instance, take the word syllable. How many words does syllable have? Well, just take a moment to listen to yourself. Syllable. How many beats does the word have? Syllable, syllable, syllable. It has 3 beats or 3 syllables. That's the first step. Now we can ask ourselves, do any of those syllables get more weight or emphasis than the others? In other words, do any of those syllables, do we tend to say them more loudly or slightly more forcefully? Now, this can be confusing because if you've grown up speaking English, you don't necessarily hear those differences. We have to train our ears to become aware of them. So here's a simple way to determine the syllables or the accented or stressed syllable in a word. Try stressing each of the syllables. So, for instance, let's stress syllable. We'll exaggerate it. Syllable, syllable. That sounds okay. What if we stressed the second syllable? Syllable, syllable. That sounds kind of strange to our ear, doesn't it? What about the third syllable? Syllable, syllable. Again, that doesn't sound like our word. The word is syllable. So this little exercise teaches us that it's the first syllable in syllable that gets that extra accent or that extra stress, not syllable or syllable. Uh, Here's another example, the word vowel. Here, try this yourself. Uh, Does vowel have the accent on the first syllable or the second syllable? Vowel, vowel. You can try it to yourself this way. Stress the first syllable, deliberately stress it. Vowel. Then deliberately stress the second syllable. Vowel. Vowel sounds a little strange. Vowel is what we say. Ah, now we can become aware that it's the first syllable, vowel, that's getting the emphasis. So in English, the most important thing that we do to syllables is give them this extra stress or accent or not. However, one of the great secrets, and this is a secret that poets know, is that sometimes vowels can be longer or shorter. So, in addition to that extra weight, there's also a difference in the length. For example, consider the word hot. Say it out loud if you're in a place where you can say it out loud. Hot. Notice that the ot in hot is quite short. Notice it's also short in the word short. We don't normally say short, just as we don't normally say hot unless something is really hot. You're like, hot. And then that's a different sort of thing altogether. But normally, in normal circumstances, hot is a short vowel, short is a short vowel. Now, suppose we have a word heart. Notice how the heart is a longer vowel sound. We don't say heart. We say hot, but we don't say heart. We say heart. So that the EA or that heart sound is a longer vowel in the word heart, and the hot, the O in the word hot, is a shorter vowel. So we can start to train ourselves to hear when a vowel is shorter and when a vowel is longer. And the best way to do this is simply to say the word out loud and ask yourself, are these vowels shorter or longer? It may be something you've never asked yourself before, but that's part of the excitement about learning language in this way is that we start to learn things, to perceive things about language that has been all around us all the time, but we may not have ever noticed before. So, the exercise in the 5th week of the free cozy spelling course asks about 3 words from that week's list of words: apology, alcohol, and toboggan. So join me. Apology. How many syllables? Apology. Apology. 4 syllables. Okay. Are any of these syllables longer or shorter than the others? Apology. Listen to it, or even say it out loud with me. Apology. Notice that the apology, that second syllable is slightly longer than the first and the third and the fourth. Apology. And if you want, you can do the same kind of thing and you can stretch different syllables. Apology doesn't sound quite right. Apology doesn't sound quite right. Apology doesn't sound quite right either. But apology very naturally sounds right with that second syllable a bit longer than the others. How about the second word? Alcohol. How many syllables? Alcohol. Alcohol. Do any of those syllables sound longer to your ear? Say it out loud with me. Alcohol. Alcohol. Notice how that first syllable, Al, it has a length to it. It's not the shortness of hot or short. Alcohol. Ka, hall. Both of those are short syllables. And the third word, toboggan. How many syllables? Toboggan. 3 syllables. Toboggan. Again, say it out loud with me. Toboggan. Do any of those vowel sounds sound longer than the others? Toboggan. To my ear, that second vowel sound sounds longer. We can play around with them. What if we made the first vowel sound longer? Toboggan. Sounds strange. Toboggan also sounds strange, but toboggan is our word. Now you may be wondering, well, that's all very nice, Thomas, but what difference does this make? Well, I would argue that it makes quite a large difference because simply by spending a little time looking at words more deeply and listening to words more deeply, we're already preparing our mind to be able to spell those words more easily and more naturally. In a sense, we no longer have to try to learn the spelling. The spelling emerges as a kind of natural result, if you will. Um, that's what spelling is really about. It's about learning to pay attention to how words are spelt and uh, using that to inform our understanding of the spelling of those words. Furthermore, I'd say this: as you've seen in the free cozy spelling course, there is a list of Marie's spelling rules. But these spelling rules are not simply rules that you have to follow in the sense of like a dictator saying you must do this, you must not do that. Instead, these rules are tools that help us to perceive more clearly what's actually going on in the language, so that spelling ceases to be such a mystery and start to take on a certain regularity, even in its irregularity. That there are certain patterns we can start to identify. They're simply not the sorts of patterns we might be looking for unless we start to train our ears and our eyes to perceive them. So I hope that that answers your question. I'll be happy to follow up. If you have any further questions, you can put them in the chat box or you can email them to me afterwards. And all good wishes with your exploration with spelling. Thanks again for your question about the length of vowels and the words alcohol, toboggan, and what was our other word? Apology. So no apologies for our exploration of spelling.